A growing number of African Americans say they are considering leaving the United States and relocating to Africa.
Many African Americans are making a different choice. Ditching the American dream, they are returning to Africa.
Imagine packing your bags, saying goodbye to Starbucks pumpkin spice lattes, and trading them for fresh mangoes straight off the tree in Ghana. Sounds crazy? Well, tell that to the thousands of African Americans who are making the jump every single year. This isn't some random vacation trend. This is a full-on migration wave, one that the mainstream media whispers about but rarely explains. And today, we're breaking it all down. So buckle up, because what you're about to hear will make you question not only America's Land of Opportunity slogan, but maybe even your own ZIP code. Let's be real. Being black in America comes with an invisible tax. Not the IRS kind, the stress kind. Every sideways glance from a store clerk, every random traffic stop, every job interview where your name mysteriously doesn't get a callback. It adds up. Generation after generation, that pressure cooker explodes into mental fatigue. And for some, the math is simple. Why stay where the system is stacked against you, when you can build a life where your skin isn't an automatic red flag? Leaving isn't always defeat. It's survival, it's self-preservation, and honestly, it's hope in motion. But here's the kicker. It's not just about escaping America. It's about returning to something bigger. Think about this. For centuries, African Americans were cut off from their family trees. Whole branches just gone. Languages silenced. Names erased. Fast forward to the 21st century, and suddenly, DNA tests are basically spitting out ancestral Google Maps directions. Your roots are waiting for you in Sierra Leone. Recalculate route. That's why events like Ghana's Year of Return in 2019 weren't just tourism campaigns. They were spiritual reunions. Over 1 million people showed up, and for many, standing at the door of no return, flipped the script. It became the door of return. And that's not poetic fluff. That's a historic full-circle moment you can feel in your bones. All right, so identity plays a massive role. But let's be honest, good vibes don't pay rent. Here's a fun stat. Africa has some of the fastest-growing economies on the planet. Lagos, Nairobi, Kigali, Accra, they're not just city names, they're startup playgrounds. Tech, fashion, music, finance, industries are exploding, and investors are circling like hawks. For African Americans tired of glass ceilings and corporate gatekeepers, Africa feels like an open field. Want to launch a business? Costs are lower, markets are hungry, and governments are actually offering incentives to returnees. A dollar stretches further too, sometimes shockingly further. Retirement savings that barely cover rent in Atlanta can buy you land and build you a home in Accra. That's not relocation, that's an upgrade. But hold on, because it's not just about chasing dollars. What if I told you, moving to Africa can also buy you something money can't? Belonging. And no, I don't mean the fake corporate kind where HR hands out pizza parties and calls it family. I mean real belonging. The kind where walking down the street doesn't make you feel like a suspect in your own neighborhood. Ask anyone who's made the move, and they'll tell you the smallest things hit the hardest, like being greeted in the market as if you're part of the community, or being invited to a family meal without anyone asking, "So, what do you do for a living?" For people who spent decades being the only one in classrooms, offices, or boardrooms, this sudden shift isn't just refreshing, it's revolutionary. It's like taking off a weighted vest you didn't even realize you were wearing. And let's not pretend this is just kumbaya and hugs. There's actual healing involved. Generations of African Americans have carried the residue of theft, of language, culture, lineage, and then suddenly you're standing in a village, hearing a rhythm that sounds eerily like your grandmother's humming, or tasting food that feels weirdly familiar. It's like your DNA exhales and says, "Finally, we're home." Now, of course, identity and belonging are powerful motivators. But let's get practical. One of the biggest draws: cost of living. The math is ridiculous. A cramped apartment in Brooklyn might set you back $3,000 a month. That same money in Dakar or Kigali, you're looking at a 3-bedroom home, maybe even with a garden, a helper, and still enough left over to sip coconuts by the beach. And that's not exaggeration. That's exchange rates working overtime. Even basics hit differently. Food isn't trucked across 3 states and triple-priced for being labeled organic. It's just food. Fresh, local, affordable. Healthcare, organic. It's just food. Fresh, local, affordable. Healthcare. Sure, it varies by city, but in many urban centers, private care costs a fraction of what you'd pay in the US, without having to sell your kidney just to pay the deductible. And don't even get me started on commutes. Instead of sitting in traffic on the I-45 for 2 hours, you're 10 minutes from your office. Or better yet, running your own business in the same building you live in. Of course, it's not all sunshine and Wi-Fi. Power outages can happen. Bureaucracy can feel like a sport. You might need to juggle between solar panels and generators. But here's the twist. Many people actually see those challenges as opportunities. Diaspora returnees are launching solar companies, local delivery apps, and even private schools. They're turning gaps into businesses, and businesses into legacies, and governments are catching on fast. Countries like Ghana, Rwanda, and Senegal are literally rolling out the welcome mats. Streamlined visas, land grants, tax holidays. Some governments are practically begging returnees to come back, not out of pity, but because it makes economic sense. You bring skills, money, and global networks. They bring land, opportunity, and a society that actually values your presence. That's not just policy, it's strategy. But let's zoom out a bit. This isn't just about individuals finding cheaper rent or cultural vibes. This is part of a bigger picture, a Pan-African renewal. For centuries, Africa's narrative was dominated by the story of loss of people, of labor, of culture. Now the return of the diaspora flips the script. It's not just a homecoming, it's an economic and cultural comeback. Imagine a brain drain, working in reverse. Engineers, doctors, creatives, entrepreneurs, all flowing back in. That's not just migration, that's momentum. And here's the wildest part. For some, it's not even about going back. It's about building something entirely new. A hybrid identity, African roots with American hustle. Diaspora returnees often become cultural bridges, linking markets, exporting music, creating fusion cuisine, and setting up companies that connect both continents. Suddenly, the move isn't just personal, it's geopolitical. It's about reshaping the future balance of power between America and Africa. Now you might be thinking, this all sounds great, but isn't it just for rich people with options? And that's fair. But the reality? Many of those moving aren't millionaires. They're regular folks. Teachers, retirees, young professionals, people tired of paying $20 for a salad and $3,000 for rent. And when they realize their pension or modest savings can buy them a comfortable life, not just survival, the decision becomes less crazy and more common sense. So, if belonging, opportunity, and cost of living weren't enough, what's left? Oh, trust me, the story gets even better. So, if belonging, opportunity, and cost of living weren't enough, what's left? Here's the part nobody really talks about: retirement. Yeah, that word usually conjures images of Florida golf courses and early bird dinner specials. But for a growing number of African Americans, retirement in Africa looks a whole lot different. Picture this: warm mornings, fruit bought fresh from the market, a stroll to a seaside cafe, and evenings filled with music drifting from a local festival. Compare that to the gray cubicle of an American retirement home, where excitement means bingo night, and the highlight of the week is your doctor adjusting your cholesterol meds. Which one sounds more like living? The truth is, pensions and retirement savings that can barely stretch in the US suddenly become golden tickets overseas. A modest social security check that feels like crumbs in New York becomes a feast in Dakar. And retirees aren't just sitting around. Many of them reinvent themselves, opening art studios, volunteering, teaching English, or even starting small businesses. Retirement in Africa isn't a slow fade-out, it's a remix. And it's not just older folks. Younger generations are also catching on, not only because of economics, but because of community. Africa still thrives on a communal fabric that America lost somewhere between strip malls and Netflix binges. Family isn't just who lives in your house, it's who lives on your street, your block, your village. Festivals, weddings, naming ceremonies, these aren't just events, they're lifelines. For people who felt isolated in America, this kind of daily connection is the antidote to loneliness. Here's where it gets even more interesting. This return migration isn't happening in isolation. It's reshaping global narrative. People in Washington, Paris, and London. Think about it. Every professional who leaves America to build in Africa isn't just a statistic. They're a living critique of systemic failure back home. They're saying with their passports, if you won't value me here, I'll go where I am valued. That's a powerful statement. And countries in Africa are doubling down on that. Rwanda, for example, has positioned itself as a hub for digital nomads, entrepreneurs, and returnees. Ghana literally branded a national campaign around welcoming the diaspora. These aren't just feel-good slogans, they're part of strategic development. You bring capital, skills, and connections. They provide fertile ground to grow. Everybody wins, but let's not sugarcoat it. Integration takes work. Culture shock is real. Local politics can be messy. And no, not every African American who moves finds instant paradise. There are adjustments to make. Learning local languages, navigating bureaucracy, even dealing with perceptions from locals who might see returnees as foreigners. It's not a Disney movie. It's real life. And yet, here's the kicker. Most people who move say the benefits still outweigh the challenges. Why? Because the baseline feels different. Instead of waking up every morning bracing for racial profiling or economic stagnation, you wake up with a sense of possibility. That shift alone changes everything, from mental health to family dynamics to the way you plan for the future. And speaking of the future, this migration wave isn't slowing down. If anything, it's just getting started. Which brings us to the million-dollar question. What does all of this mean, not just for individuals, but for the destiny of America and Africa? What does all of this mean, not just for individuals, but for the future of two continents? Let's break it down. For America, every departure is a silent alarm bell. When talented, educated, and determined citizens decide the so-called American dream is more attainable somewhere else. That's not just a relocation, that's an indictment. It's like your star basketball player transferring to another team because your coach refuses to stop running plays from the 1980s. America loses not only talent, but also the chance to prove it can actually fix the cracks in its system. For Africa, though, it's the opposite story. This migration is like plugging a charger back into a drained battery. Skills, ideas, investments, and cultural bridges are flowing in, and the continent is transforming. Tech hubs are popping up, creative industries are booming, and suddenly, Africa isn't just the backdrop of a National Geographic documentary. It's the stage where the future is being written. Here's the poetic part. This isn't just economics, it's history looping back on itself. The very descendants of those who were torn from Africa centuries ago are now returning by choice, not in chains. That flips the script in a way that no textbook could ever capture. It's not just migration, it's redemption. And don't underestimate the ripple effect. Diaspora communities abroad are already shifting the global conversation. African Americans who move back are acting as cultural diplomats, forging business links, promoting tourism and creating transatlantic ecosystems that never existed before. Suddenly, a business in Atlanta can collaborate with a startup in Nairobi, or a school in Chicago can exchange programs with one in Accra. That's not just connection, that's reinvention. Of course, the decision to move isn't for everyone. Some will weigh the risks and stick it out in the US. Others will test the waters with frequent visits, investments, or dual residency. And that's okay. The point isn't that everyone should pack up tomorrow. It's that for the first time in centuries, there's a real choice. And choice is power. So what's the takeaway? Thousands of African Americans are moving to Africa because they're tired of waiting for a system that was never designed for them to suddenly start working. They're tired of playing a game where the rules are rigged, and instead of waiting, they're writing their own rules somewhere new. If you're watching this and thinking, could I do that? The answer is, maybe. It depends on your goals, your hustle, and your willingness to adapt. But even if you never step foot on African soil, the fact that so many are making that choice should make you pause. It should make you ask why leaving America in search of belonging, opportunity, and dignity is no longer unthinkable. It's becoming normal. And that's why this story matters, because it's not just about migration. It's about identity, legacy, and the possibility of a future unchained from the past. So here's my challenge to you. Don't just watch this video and nod along. Dig deeper. Read, research, connect with people who've made the move. And if this conversation lit a fire in you, then do what our community has always done. Turn ideas into action. If you want more stories like this, stories that cut through the noise and tell you what the headlines won't, hit that subscribe button, drop a comment, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Because whether you're in Atlanta, Accra, or anywhere in between, this isn't just a video. It's part of a conversation that's shaping the next chapter of our story. And trust me, you don't want to miss what comes next.